my guest Hitesh Adhikari over here. So there's been a lot of things which is going on right now, including the recession in the Indian economy. We have the ongoing standoff. It's now a question: is it the tiger or the dragon? So it's the tiger versus dragon, and now we have Hitesh Adhikari over here. Good afternoon for
Hello, bhai.
joining, Hitesh.
Hello, bhai. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well too, bhai. So
Yeah,
how are the things in Bangalore?
Bangalore things are better. There's relative peace as after the riots over here, and then as usual, things are returning back to normalcy. We have a college lectures will be starting from October again. And how's everything going up there in Uttarakhand?
UK, it's fine. The monsoon is it is raining every second 2 hours and 3 hours. It is like now pissing me off. So much rain, morning, evening,
Okay.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason why we have called up for this live is because it's been almost 1.5 months since we went live last, and then we would like to update our viewers and our followers regarding current affairs. So if you're watching this, let me give you two small announcements. If you have any questions, do comment in the box. We'll be free to answer all of those. And second of all, what we are presenting here is not just mere facts. We are also giving our opinions. So kindly have the discretion to distinguish between facts and opinions. If at all you're getting confused, we would also give a disclaimer as to whether we're giving facts or opinions. So there is a clear difference between the both, because facts is universal, which can never be denied, but opinions can pertain from person to person. So we encourage you to form your own opinions rather than relying on other people's opinions. What we're just giving as experts is our opinions and our thoughts. So not necessarily it might align with your thought process. So now, Hitesh, this question which is posed as of now is: you can see several prototype weapons being inducted into the conflict zone near LAC, and recently you saw the Bharat Forge vehicles being inducted over there. We even saw the trials of LUH at high altitudes. So could this mean that the armed forces would place further orders for these weapons?
The issue is I just did a post on the three vehicles, the Kalyani M4 and the Bharat Forge MPV and the third Mavic vehicle. These are armored vehicles, and these have been present for like 2016, 2017. We saw Tata bringing out these armored vehicles and all, and people were very excited about the Kestrel and the Tata vehicles, but nothing came out of it for 4 years now. And in the meantime, Bharat Forge has done some joint ventures with a South African company, Paramount Group, and they have bought the M4 and all the vehicles to India. Now we are seeing them testing those vehicles in high altitudes. We are not seeing them inducting them into the forces. These are merely tests, and they are testing how they perform at high altitudes and all. My issue with the thing is we have a lot of products ready to give to the service, but service does not have the fund, or service is saying that they do not have the money to place big orders. At the moment, we are seeing a lot of action again, because the Chinese are allowing the army to have some emergency funds and all the money, and they can do procurements. But until army places large orders like 1,000 vehicles or 500 vehicles, it is not sufficient, because these vehicles also become a pain when it comes to inventory management, servicing, maintenance, spares, and all these things. So until army places a massive order, which can not be done with the help of just emergency procurement money, it needs a separate money fund. So we will have to wait and see how many army procures and how they are placed, and what level of production can be achieved with the order size. At the moment, I'm not very hopeful that we will get a big order, or we will see thousands of these lining up on the LAC and all.
So facts said now that, like as you have mentioned, facts that these are still in trial procurement, and sadly we are also having this is off a bit context relating to international affairs as of now. So, as you know that recently, why not before I head to the main question, why not discuss a bit about this? Greece planning to procure 18 Rafale fighter jets from France. So, how do you think it
Yes,
would
yes, yes.
change the balance in the Aegean Sea?
See, we are seeing a lot of fighting, a lot of mock fights between nations in Europe. You have seen the videos of two countries, I will not name them, doing the mock battles in the sky and posting videos and all. And Greece is buying Rafale fighters, and it is also looking for the procurement of upgrading equipment for upgrading its F-16 fleet, as I'm remembering. So I'm not sure how Greece is going to fund this because the aircraft is very expensive, first of all. Secondly, they are looking forward to procuring the aircrafts. We do not know which missiles they will buy. And as you know, Meteor is the only thing that people talk about when it comes to Rafale because they think Meteor is one missile for all purposes. But Meteor is also very expensive, and I'm not sure how many Greece can afford, first of all. And secondly, how are they going to fund these orders? Their economy is not very stable or strong, as you know. I am very doubtful that even if we do the budget, like if we do the transactions in trenches, how they are going to fund all these modernization and new upgrade plans, it is at the moment beyond my capabilities to think. Maybe they'll take a loan or something, it feels now.
True that, but now this also translates to a situation which India, or in fact the whole world, is facing because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The whole world, the global economy is under recession now, officially entered into a recession, and that the Indian economy is one of the worst hit with 23.9% recession, which is which is going in negative. So, do you
Hmm.
think that these trials now, which are going on in LAC, and that is why I wanted to draw parallels between Greece and India, do you think the Indian government, if at all, if the armed forces are placing orders for these, would cater to their needs because of these ongoing trials? Because trials necessarily need not mean that they're inducted.
Yes, 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 yes. Trials need not mean that they are inducted, but see, Greece placing an order. Greece is not an economy which was doing very well before the pandemic either, right? Since 2007, we are seeing that Greece do not have money and all the things. And the issue is India can somewhat afford to have such equipment because these are not very expensive when we compare the mine protection vehicles and all. These are not very expensive, and Indian economy is way big compared to many things. Indian defense budget is like nearly half of the Greece economy, GDP, total GDP. So India, in the long term, short term, they can afford. And when it comes to security, India will surely spend money on these things because it is very important. But Greece situation is a bit different. The conflict is not uh, missiles are not being fired there. In India, there is fighting, there are clashes, there are casualties and all. But in Greece, Turkish scenario, there are no missiles being fired and all these things. So in it is very difficult to compare Greece to India. They do not have two nuclear armed neighbors with one supporting terrorism and all, and their disputes are not so major that it can go out to the all of world. Na? But Indian situation is a bit different. Chinese have really walked into the gray zone and all. So comparing these two are very difficult things.
Okay, so
Also, India produces these vehicles.
true. So, before we head on to further discussion, we have Rohan who's asking about DWS over here. So,
Okay.
can you please talk about it? Like,
Okay, directed energy weapons, I think Rohan is talking about. So, directed energy weapons can be weapons like Kali. They can be laser weapons. They can be microwave weapons. They can be sound weapons. Sound is also MRAD system is also a directed energy weapon. So, directed energy weapons, ka basic, these are type of non-lethal weapons. Initially, when they were started, they were non-lethal weapons. The idea was that you will make the person uh, you will dazzle the person, or you will overwhelm the senses of the person, and that is how you will be able to control a crowd or a certain specific human. But today, what we are seeing is DEWs have become powerful. Laser weapons are coming into play. Laser weapons are able to destroy the drones, and they are able to destroy many things. And China is also working on weapons which can basically burn a person. A laser weapon can burn a person. So that is Chinese version of it. Uh, will these be a game changer? In long term, directed energy weapons can be a game changer if laser air defenses are produced, because you can only have 10 or 100 or 1,000 missiles at a time, and after the 1,000 missiles are used, you cannot have more. But with laser, there is no such issue. The issue we will face in the near future is supplying the power to the weapon, first of all, and second, miniaturizing the technology. You will have to make the technology smaller to be more useful. Like, you cannot have a Kali weapon which is bigger than a building, and you cannot send it to the LAC. It will be an easy target. So you will have to miniaturize the weapon, and these are the things that you will have to take into account before calling anything game changer.
True. So thank you for answering that question. I hope that serves your purpose, Rohan. So now getting back to the original tangent in which we are discussing. So now we try to draw parallels between this thing, Greece and India. So in this point, as you told, that our economy is in a much better placed position than that of Greece. But you know that the agency, the politics which is currently running around in the agency is going to impact even the Indo-Pakistan politics, as you know, because Pakistan is heavily reliant on Turkish
Turkish, right?
supremacy in order to play the Kashmir card. So how do you think that the induction of Rafale, apart from changing the air superiority or air dominance, change the whole strategic gameplay in the agency?
See, India before this had Su-30 MKI, and Su-30 MKI was India's main weapon. You can say it was a tip of the spear for India. But Su-30 MKI has certain issues. Su-30 MKI issues are like, it has a very large cross section, RCS. It has a very large RCS. It was not very suitable for missions like Seed and Deed, or entering enemy airspace. Those were not the best things Su-30 MKI could do, right? But Rafale has a state-of-the-art electronics countermeasure suite. It has SDRs, which is software-defined radios and links, data links, and it has a very much larger standoff capability. It has weapons like Meteor, it has weapons like Scalp and all these, and it can play a better role than Su-30 MKI in intrusion. Like, uh, India does not have a fifth generation fighter program. India does not have a fighter program like which is functional at the moment. We have a fighter program which is fifth generation, but it is not functional. And fortified engines on MKI are no issue. Engine on MKI are just fine. It is just a wish list. Like, if you want to upgrade your bike, you will start upgrading one thing, and then someone will say that you have to upgrade this also and that also. That is salesman tactic. Engines on MKI are just sufficient for now. We do not need a specific upgrade for engines, but the majority of the things require upgrades. We need to upgrade the radar. We need to upgrade the weapons package, and we have upgraded the software-defined radios, because you must have read the recent report that Indian Su-30 MKI have been integrated with a new software-defined radio set. That is a good thing, but Rafale will be a major player, but at the moment it is not in sufficient numbers. Even 36 Rafale will not be sufficient for India when it comes to fighting a two-front war, because Chinese have a number superiority, and Chinese can produce their fighters at their own will, because they are their designs. India cannot do that. India cannot produce Rafale. So this is one of the thing that we will have to think about. Best at the moment is to support Tejas and support AMC and all these projects, and possibly go for 36 more Rafale fighters. I'm not riding on the MMRCA 2.0 now. It is too late for it now.
True. And talking about induction of new weapons again, the lockdown as well as the ongoing China standoff has given indigenous weapon manufacturers a good chance to showcase their products. So, do
Yes,
you
yes.
think that this would be the right time, or right time for the HAL made Tejas to showcase itself in a near hot zone so that it can convince the top brass to place more orders for it? Because it is a very ambitious project, has been running more than 30 years now. So, if orders aren't being placed, then obviously it is a waste of my men, material, and resources for such a thing. So,
Tejas
do you
currently
think
was moved to Western sector, right? Uh, uh,
true it was?
one Tejas Squadron was moved to Western sector, but the issue with moving Tejas to Western sector is, first of all, the current Tejas is Tejas Mk1, and if they have moved the squadron, I believe that they have moved the Mk1 IOC or initial operational configuration squadron to the Western sector because FOC is not produced yet. Second issue is Mk1A, the main fighter or the 83 fighter, is which is going
Hmm.
to be totally different from the current Tejas fleet, right? Because it will have a 2052 AESA radar and it will have the self protection pods and all. So that is a totally different ball game from the current Tejas we have. Tejas is beloved in the Air Force. The people I have talked to and the people I know who are working on it say that Tejas is loved because, first of all, it is superior in controls and handling. Secondly, for the size of the bird, it can carry a lot of payload and all. But the issue is that we are not seeing orders. We have been wishing for the orders. We were hoping for the orders to be signed by May or June, but then the pandemic struck, and now it is. They are saying that by the end of the year they will sign the order. So I'm hoping for Mk1A order to be signed because the later we sign the order, the later will be the deliveries. HAL will get 36 months for the first Tejas to be delivered. So these are the factors that they'll have to consider for it. As for Tejas being a main fighter, Tejas surely will be the backbone of our Indian fleet. We cannot afford to buy Rafale and we cannot afford to import jets at all times. First, you have to design some new, slowly improve it, and then you specifically make it as per your own configurations. So I feel that Air Force needs to fund Tejas, and more importantly, I feel that the 40 Mk1A order, Mk1 order is not sufficient because 3 years the line
True.
will be idle for 1 year at least. So in the meanwhile, what we can do is we can place an order for 20 or 12 more Mk1 fighters FOC configuration, and these in the end can be converted into Mk1A fighters later. So that is something that is going to help us and reduce the cost also. And
So,
Warrior
talking about
1009 is asking,
hmm,
F-35? No, India is not buying F-35. See, American hardware comes with a lot of strings attached. There are terms and conditions like a mutual fund scheme written in small order, small typos. So I don't think that India will go for F-35. Maybe we'll go for some Su-57 in the long term, but not F-35.
true. So now let's talk a bit offbeat now, and for the time being. So recently, on September 11th, the Ministry of Defense had set up the official website for Aero India 21. So Aero India is Asia's premier air show, which happens around my place in Bangalore. So how do you think the pandemic would affect the performance of the show? And I even heard that they're extending the show time by 1 hour. So it's like every year usually it ends by 5 o'clock. So I guess this time they're going to extend it till 6 o'clock in the evening, and then they're going to restrict the number of people who are entering the arena. They're keeping a very tight sort of watch. So do you think this would be a feasible move by the government?
See, first of all, we do not know what will happen by Feb. That's the issue with the pandemic. I'm totally sure that there will be no vaccine or which is approved and all. If they do a vaccination by emergency, like some Americans are planning to do, that is a different thing. But I'm not hopeful for a tested vaccine because vaccine testing takes 1 to 2 years before any sort of approval. That is. Uh, while doing the Aero India thing, the main thing will be we'll have to see the numbers of people reduced because you cannot allow everyone inside. Maybe they will have some specific will have to produce the testing when you go to the venue. Foreign delegation teams will be smaller in size. Most OEMs will have any trouble. Like, OEMs have to make money, and the billions of dollars are at stake when it comes to these. So they will do anything to send their people. But I do not feel that there will be large conferences like they used to happen in the past days, where they used to tell people about their fighters and all. I feel this will be a smaller show when it comes to the number of people.
Okay.
But it will be a good one, and it is required because in India, aviation sector is not given much heed. We do not have air shows like in China or US, where every 2 months or 3 months or every year there is a show. In India, it is very limited. Flying as a hobby is very limited. So these shows are very important to promote such technologies in India.
Okay, so I hope our internet connection is stable. So, guys, just let me know if I am audible down, because I suspect
Yes,
there
you're
to be a
audible.
very yeah, okay. China control banks will load loan layer. Okay. Um, so again, now coming to now again the same thing which is mongering amongst the Indian audience or the global thing as a whole is that there might be a war between India and China, and this the nth time we've been repeating regarding this, that no war would take place, because if there is a war, it is a mad, I mean mutually assured destruction. So if the war goes mad, you are gone, the Chinese are gone, even I'm gone. So like nobody's gonna survive the war. So anyone who has a doubt regarding warfare, possible warfare which is gonna take place, please sort of remove that from your mind, because war is something which is not gonna happen anytime soon unless there's a grave requirement to do that. So skipping the Indo-China topic, let's focus our turn towards Middle East, where currently Israel is brokering peace ties with UAE and Bahrain and those countries. So do you think, and early on as well, UAE and Qatar are two potential customers for the LCA? Since LCA is our top priority and we're talking about indigenizing our armed forces segment, so do you think there is a export possibility for countries like Qatar or Bahrain? Qatar, Bahrain, or UAE to our LCA aircraft?
I do not see any possible exports to these nations. The reason are specifically political. See, when we talk about a defense deal, we have to take into the mind that a lot of political back pushing and weight throwing is done, right? Uh, uh, American companies spend a lot of money, billions of dollars, to promote their products. Then American government pushes a lot of their weight around, like we will not do this if you do not purchase our own fighter and all. Indian company, first of all, HAL has technically a zero sales potential. They are not a very good salesperson. Their main customer is Indian Air Force, and even to them, they are not doing a very good job of selling items. Second issue is Indian government is not a global player when it comes to weight throwing. We are not able to throw weight when it comes to political deals and all. China can spend billions of dollars promoting their own fighters. US will spend billions of dollars saying that if you do not do this, we will not do this. But India does not do any that sort of thing. So first of all, LC export is very highly doubtful to me. Secondly, when you're exporting the items, you have to be very strict with the quality control, and you have to be strict with timelines. And that is one thing that is very difficult for HAL. Third important factor is that a lot of components, including the engine and radar at the moment, are Israeli and American. So you will have to seek permission from OEM before you sell this to any other party. And I do not feel that they are going to be very happy about it, because their own jets are in the competition as well. And the special sixth generation jet US is flying, I'm very highly doubtful of that. See, US has a lot of black funding or black money or black budget that is said. Black budget is like it is a defense budget or it is a security budget, but it is not counted in a defense budget. It is special. Uska koi, it cannot be traced or tracked. So US spends a lot of money in technology development and technology generation. Or over the years, we have seen a lot of aircrafts that are said to be of USAF, but they never materialized. So do not think that if just because US is testing something that looks like a sixth generation fighter, or someone is saying that the fighter will come soon. Sixth generation fighters are very far in the future. They are not going to come very soon. Yes, Anurag, I'm answering your question only. So do not go for the hype thing, because if the sixth generation fighter was so ready for induction and for the all those things, then US is spending money on F-35. Why is US spending billions of dollars and $1 trillion in future on F-35 program when if the sixth generation fighter is so advanced? Things will happen at their own pace, and it takes time to develop a new technology.
We have a question on submarines. Since that's also one of the topics I'm interested in, can we discuss more on the submarines?
Sure.
So here we have a question which reads: should we give off a diesel electric submarine to Myanmar?
We are already giving our Kilo class submarine, I think, to Myanmar. We are giving one of our submarines to Myanmar. We have done the refit, and we are going to transfer that submarine to Myanmar. It is a strategic move. Bangladesh is buying Chinese submarines, so it is a counter move done by India. It is a political and military move, but we cannot give all our submarines. We are giving one or two, and that is sufficient, because we ourselves have a very limited fleet at the moment, and we require them.
So submarines do play a very important role in ensuring strategic diplomacy in the since times they were being invented. So we have more questions here. Some differences remain despite warning ties. Warring ties. So warming ties are using no problem selling advanced stealth fighter to JUA, which has long sought to obtain them. Okay, Modi government has taken loan from China Control Bank during Indo-China standoff. Please say something regarding this in the good thing. So okay, he is claiming that Modi has taken a loan from China. So
okay, so let me be clear. When it comes to bank, I'm not sure which loan specifically you're talking about, or which bank you're talking about, but the world economy works on loans. Loans are given by banks, and many countries hold a share in different banks of different countries. Even Chinese country has some investment in our own banks and all. This is because this is global. Just because a bank has a small section of Chinese control, you cannot say that it is a complete loan from China. And there's always a transfer of money in globalized world. The forex itself is a transfer of money. When you're trading, you're doing it with the help of international banks and all, and international currencies and all. So it is not a big deal. And how big is the loan? What percentage is the interest? What is the bond period? These are several factors that you'll have to take into account. And I'm not sure which loan you're talking about, so I cannot comment on that.
Okay, so I guess that was something relevant to the loans. We have more questions coming in. I think UAE is to get F-35. Okay, the whole question is about Myanmar and F-35. So let's just go off tangent for now, and let's talk about Iran, because what is expected is that by the December of this year, some of the sanctions for importing aviation parts would be removed from. Would be eased from Iran's diplomatic ties with US. And then this is a bit old topic which I'm going to drag up. In the year 2013, Iran had actually displayed its stealth prototype. Not a flying one, but a stealth prototype aircraft at a I don't know, was it a National Day parade? I'm not sure. So it did. So do you think? How do you think would Iran actually mature or materialize its dreams of a fifth generation fighter jet?
See, first of all, that stealth prototype or mock-up was very awfully made. It was an awful design. It looked very good, but there was not even sufficient space to mount the weapons and all, and it did not have any internal mountings by the design of it. So first of all, if your fifth generation fighter does not have an internal weapon bay, then it is not a fifth generation fighter. It is just low observable. Second issue is Iran has done some great work when it comes to avionics and equipments and sensors, and they have done a lot of work because they were facing the sanctions and all. It is okay that they have done, but the fifth generation thing is purely bullshit when it comes to Iran. First of all, that is that. Secondly, yes, the sanctions are going to end. Hopefully, technically they should end, but you can never be sure, right? If the situations worsen, then they'll just replace sanctions on Iran, and the issues will not stop for them. I feel there will be
True.
certain amount of easiness, but they will not be totally fine with everything removed. Russian sanctions are for nothing, but they are still facing the sanctions even today.
True that, true.
Uh,
We are having more questions. I guess we have to revert back to the original topic about the F-35, possible sales of F-35 to UAE. Okay,
that is highly
Krish is giving
doubtful.
us something. ओके सॉरी फॉर इंटरप्टिंग बट AIIB बैंक का नाम जिसमें चाइना का शेयर ज्यादा है और इसमें जो लोन था इंटरेस्ट आ गया को चाइना को भी हो जाएगा समथिंग ओके ही
So
सेज दैट
that
AIIB is a bank in which China has invested money.
we are still trading with China. We are directly feeding China money as we speak. The loan is a passive way of them earning in the longer term, and they will be earning 1 or 2%. We are having a basically open trade, even though trade has reduced, but we still are trading with China. We have business ties with them. So a loan with a bank which is controlled by China to a certain extent, or China has a certain share, is not a very big deal. If they do not give us loans, someone else will. And if the loan becomes a headache, we'll pay it on time, or we'll just transfer the loan to someone else, because I do not know the terms and conditions of the loan, but there are several factors which are about things. And about the F-35 sale, a lot of parties are involved in the program. Totally. Like you see, the US is a partner. They are tier one, tier two, tier three partners. And Israel is also a major partner. So I doubt that UAE will simply get F-35 very easily. And I'm pretty sure Lockheed Martin will try to sell them their F-21s, as they call them, or F-16 Block 70, because UAE can have the F-16 Block 70 fighters. It is a very near fifth generation fighter, just not stealthy, but it can work very good.
Why is IAF why is IAF hesitant on LCH orders? Is it budget issues? So this is a
See,
big open-ended question mark.
IAF and IA both are not placing the order for LCH. There should be 15 LSP order which should have been signed a year ago, but हुआ ये कि things did not work well, and IAF went into buying things like they went for Rafale, they went for S400, S300, and all these things. And S300 we had, but S400 is something just like S300 ka upgrade S400, as people know now. So IAF is spending a lot of money on important items. IA is spending a lot of money on rifles and procurement, bulletproof jackets, and all these factors. And then we went for the purchase of Apache, 6 Apache helicopters at the rate of $900 million with spares and weapons and all the packages. But that is a very expensive helicopter. You see, we could have placed an order for like 40, 50 LCH in that price point, if you understand what I mean. There is surely a hesitance in accepting indigenous fighters and indigenous products, but sooner or later we will see LCH orders. And yes, budget is one of the restrictions.
So there are their own this thing, but keeping the fact that Apaches have been procured in quite lesser numbers compared to what India would have done for LCH, do you think that Apache is a very vital asset? I mean, I'm not doubting its capabilities, but in the war zone, do you think the Apache is a very vital asset, and losing one would mean a big sort of loss for Indian Air Force or the Indian Army?
I'm not happy with the Indian Air Force having the attack helicopters. First of all, the Indian Air Force should not have attack helicopters. That is my belief, and that is belief of many army personnel, and even Air Force guys themselves believe that they should not have the attack helicopters. But you see, there's always a power struggle between the forces. There's always a fight because Indian Air Force does not want to give up on the attack helicopter fleet. Indian Army wants to have its own attack helicopter fleet. And when two people want to have the same thing, then either you will have to share the items, or either you will have to place multiple orders, like two orders, separate orders. And IAAC went for 6 Apache helicopters, and I'm not very happy with the price point. You see, $900 million for 6 helicopters is something beyond comprehension. It is nearly $60 million per attack helicopter. That is too much in my mind, and I feel that we could have done a better job with LCH. Recently, LCH was moved to Ladakh, and someone told me it is performing better than the Apaches at high altitude. So I feel that we will see an order soon. And A10 is not for sale. A10 is something that they are not exporting to anyone. So A10 is not for sale.
So now this is what is being like sort of going around the fact that and I don't want to take names. This might be a bit trivial, but even famous journalists are making a very famous defense journalist. I don't want to mention the organization he's working for or the name of the journalist. He was recently tweeting about the capture of patrol points in LAC. So do you think anytime soon, and even though if he's not listening, I know for certain that he won't listen to our answer to this, but do you think he raised a question saying that how will India recapture its lost PP to China? So do you think is there any possibility, and if so, how would we recapture our patrol points from China?
Let the winters come. A lot will happen in winters. These winters will be very hot. I feel so.
But do you think India would be going back on the same footsteps it went through in 1962? Because that was again the same time when a war broke out. It was almost winters.
1962, we had someone in power who was very much happy with the Chinese. The person was very trusting of Chinese, and the person had a belief that Chinese can never do something wrong. Secondly, during 62 war, the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, you remember, and our strategic allies were all busy with their own fights, and that is why they were not even able to provide any sort of help to us. Third factor is, it is not a smart move to fight a prepared Indian army in mountains. That is going to bite anyone, beat any force. Even the US special forces can come to try that, and they will not be having a good time trying to do that. So fighting a prepared Indian army is not a good idea. In 62, we were not prepared. Our defense minister was stupid. Our leader was very egoistic, and he believed that he knew everything, despite several warnings from other leaders. So the situation is very different today. And today we trust Chinese as much as we trust the Pakistanis when it comes to a lot of things. So things will be very different this time from 62.
Yeah, and to add on to Hitesh's point, for people who don't know what is a Cuban Missile Crisis, so what happened? Cuba in the year of 1962, Russia wanted to make Cuba into a communist state. So it was like you have USA had a communist right at their back door. So at this situation, what happened? The USA again wanted to overthrow the communist regime. So Russia wouldn't agree to that. So what Russia did was it started deploying air-to-air, surface-to-air missiles and even intercontinental ballistic missiles. I mean, not of a great range, but they did have a range which could hit cities like Washington and New York, which are the key cities of United States. So at this point, what happened? Then America started a blockade, and there were 4 submarines, 4 Foxtrot-class submarines, which were sent to, sort of threaten the America with a nuclear-tipped torpedo. One of the submarines, I mean, all of the 4 did have a nuclear-tipped torpedo, and it was on a condition that if one submarine's captain decides to fire, all the remaining 3 will also fire. So that was the notion, and luckily that never happened, or else it would have gone for a World War III or a apocalypse, in fact. So God forbid that never happened. and then the submarines were escorted back. So that is what the whole Cuban Missile Crisis was about. And a U-2 spy plane was also shot down during that point of time. So at this point, again, we all know this is a genuine tactic by the Chinese to wage a war when the whole world is concentrated somewhere. So do you think the Cuban Missile Crisis sort of situation could repeat because of COVID-19?
Chinese, see, I do not see a full-fledged war. Like people have an idea of World War II and all these kind of wars. Time of such kind of wars is long gone. I do not believe that any two big nations can have a full-fledged, all-inclusive war because we both are nuclear states. And if one starts to lose, then it may or may not use the nukes. And once a single nuke is thrown, then the entire arsenal will be all allowed. So it will be a mutually assured destruction strategy, and that is not fine. The current method of fighting is fight a war, but do not let it cross a certain threshold. Matlab, you can fight, you can have casualties, you can fight the other person, but it should not become a nuclear war, or it should not become a certain kind of war. So that is the current ideas of war. So if today fighting happens and wars happen, which is a very much a possibility, it will be a small skirmish type fights. Like both the countries will try to capture certain positions, locations, and small intrusions. It will not be a full all-scale war.
So coming to the point of China again, we have questions raising about Taiwan, the Republic of China, whether China, due to a war, if at all a war breaks out between India and China, do you think the fall of Taiwan is imminent because that China is not a party which is going to give up anytime soon?
If Chinese try to attack India, and if Chinese try to wage a multiple front war, which will happen because China has more enemies than allies, and China is claiming everyone's territory, then people who are smart will take advantage of a weakened China. Like the Japanese attacked Chinese during the wars in history, and then Russians and all the people, other people came and attacked the weakened China and set up their own parties there. That was the idea. So with India, they will not be able to focus all their assets towards our borders. Like we will not be able to focus all our assets because we will also have to counter Pakistan. China will have to counter 10 other nations, Japan, Taiwan, and all sorts of nations. So this is one thing. Will Taiwan fall eventually to Chinese? It is very much a possibility because you see, Taiwan is a democratic nation, and democratic nations do allow even the communist to participate in elections. And we have seen a lot of Taiwanese people or politicians who are very influenced and funded by China. So it is a possibility that Taiwan sooner or later will fall into Chinese hands, but it is also possible that the Chinese party can also collapse because there is a power struggle within China as well. It all depends with time.
True, and this thing talking regarding the ongoing situation in China, like there's another possibility that okay, so we are having several countries which are struggling against China. Like for example, you have Japan. There's a problem at Sea of Japan. We have Taiwan Strait issue. We have India. Like, so do you think that there is one suspecting nation, that is Russia, which I don't think so would cooperate in such a situation, because Russia has forever tried to remain neutral as far as the matters are concerned. Even during the 62 war, Russia more or less tried to remain neutral. So do you think the role of Russia would actually impact a situation of that sort?
The role of Russia will impact the situation because Russia is our biggest arms supplier. Technically, you remember, we cannot produce everything and we have to import a lot of things from Russia. So in a long war, or in even a very fast war where a lot of resources are used, we will have to resupply ourselves. And Russia might or might not be able to help us. And that can be a deciding factor because 60 to 70% of our equipment belongs to Russia. Okay? We do not manufacture all the components in India. We are still dependent on Russia for a lot of supplies and items. So how Russia treats us will decide the situation in that situation.
And sorts, we are even talking about the uh, you remember we were discussing about Greece early on. The reason why the problem of Greece actually attracts is we are also talking about upgrading the existing fleet of F-16s of theirs, which was procured under the Peace Xenon Project 2. So they seem to be upgraded to Block 60 or later versions. So what I heard from the aviationist.com was that these F-16s would be upgraded from Block 50 to Block 70, and some sources even say that F-16A Block 30 would be included. The initial ones, Block 15, which were converted to Block 30, and that would again be upgraded to Block 70. So at this point of time, when the whole world, not probably whole world, some of the major air forces in the world is going for F-16, do you think that to fill the fighter gap in the Indian Air Force, F-16 would be the right option, keeping in mind that our opponents are also armed with the F-16?
The issue is the F-16 is a medium category fighter if you consider medium role today, because F-16s have evolved from a light fighter to a medium fighter today. And F-16 is capable. I'm not saying F-16 is not capable, but F-16 is also very expensive. People think Rafale is very expensive, but F-16 is equally expensive. If you know, older F-50 or 60 block F-16 can cost 70 to 80 million dollars, right? And that is a lot of money. So for that purpose, and secondly, any American equipment comes with a lot of terms and conditions. You have seen what happened to Middle Eastern allies of US. Once they started having differences with the US, their fighter fleets were not given supplies. They were abandoned as friends, and they became enemies of US. So we'll have to take into consideration these factors as well. Secondly, we have all Western fleet basically at the moment, and some European too, but mostly all Western fleets. And the transition from will takes a time. Americans are excellent when it comes to spares and supplies. They will provide you spares, they will provide you supplies as long as you are paying them money on time. They will do everything better than Russia. But they cannot be relied upon in long-term conflicts, first of all. And secondly, Tejas, even if you place an order today, it will take at least 3 years before the first aircraft starts flying, right? Or is inducted. So it is better to spend money on your own fighter program. It is better to increase the size of your own orders to ramp up the production of your own fighters than go for some third fighter which might or might not be relevant in near future. So Americans themselves are not going
is there
for
any
F-21.
Okay, true that. But do you think that they would also do you think even a Eurofighter, not talking about F-16 because F-16 is an option which is ruled out. What about other options, European alternatives like Eurofighter Typhoon and Saab Gripen?
Eurofighter Typhoon is even more expensive than Rafale, and Saab Gripen shares a lot of components from other nations and all. So basically, the airframe is Swedish, and a lot of other components are from other nations. So Tejas is more indigenous than Saab Gripen is for Sweden. So that is one more thing. And Eurofighter Typhoon is very expensive. It does not even have a AESA radar and all the things at the current form. Best to go for more Rafale because you have already purchased some. F-18 के बारे में आप अनुराग पूछ रहे हैं, तो F-18 का सीन भी वही है. First of all, Boeing is in loss, as you must have heard. Boeing is facing severe issues with all their items at the moment. Secondly, F-18 is not a fighter for Air Force. It was made for US Air Force, but F-16 performed better than F-18. So that is why US AF never bought it. Then the US Navy bought the F-18s. And अभी नेवी का कोई ऐसा प्लान है नहीं कि फाइटर्स खरीदने कंपलसरी हैं उनको. आई डू नॉट बिलीव दैट कि वो जो नेवल रिक्वायरमेंट है वो फुलफिल होने भी वाली है, बिकॉज अवर थर्ड एयरक्राफ्ट कैरियर इज नॉट कमिंग एनी टाइम सून, यू नो. सो अभी बहुत कुछ बचा है. F-18 F-16 अभी कोई सीन नहीं है. आई बिलीव दैट राफेल का एक फॉलो ऑन ऑर्डर पॉसिबल है, और सबसे ज्यादा पॉसिबल मुझे वही लगता है.
And then I guess, so any more questions, you can just drop it. We have around 10 more minutes to deal with this. So within 10 minutes, we'll be closing this live session. So now, before talking about procurements, today we are all talking about in the procurement mood. So talking about procurements, recently there was a statement by the Israeli Air Force as well to procure a third F-35 squadron. And then there is also an idea to say that the current F-15I fleet would be upgraded to F-15X. So at this situation, when already the Israeli economy is suffering from massive inflation rates, so and moreover the threat in Israel, I mean threat in and around of Israel is also mostly centric towards Iran than any other country. Even Egypt seems to be a very peaceful country. So do you think it would create disturb the balance of power in the Middle East?
The thing is, Israel has always been superior to its neighbors when it comes to technology. You know, Israel was never numerous, but technologically superior, and that is why Israel has survived so long. Today, they are talking about peace with Israel because Israel is very powerful, and if you're powerful, people wish to be peaceful with you because no one wants to. That is the nation, and that is a notion. And Israel is one nation which will not hesitate in spending money. They have a ballistic missile defense system. They basically have a ballistic missile defense system, Israel. For a tiny nation, spending that much on a missile defense system is a very big deal. They could have just simply said that they can take 20, 30 rockets a day, and that is not going to be a problem for them. But still, they invested money. So I do not feel that Israel will back off from such things. Secondly, Israel electronics are very superior to any other nation. Israel have funded a lot of money. So for them, the upgrades will not cost nearly as much because they can do the integration themselves. They have all sorts of expertise with the aircraft modifications and all. So that is not going to be an issue for Israel, and they will do it. Does it change the balance of powers in Middle East? The balance of power was never straight. It was never balanced. It was always in the favor of Israel when it comes to technological advancements. So that is not going to do a very big task of changing anything.
So then one last question, I guess. Everyone needs to know, what is the procurement policy of the Indian government?
There are 6 to 8 steps of Indian defense material procurement. If you know that there are 6-8 steps involving the defense procurement in India, and the policies are not best. The policies were made such that you will get the lowest bidder and you will get all sorts of advantages and you will get all sorts of tactical benefits. But the policy is also one that makes the defense procurement item obsolete. Matlab, from initiation of the policy towards the end, it takes nearly a decade in induction. So when you are wasting 1 decade in just inducting an item, then you are basically getting an obsolete item at a very high price in future, right? So this is one issue, and उसमें बहुत टाइम लगता है. सबसे बड़ा इशू यही है कि डिफेंस प्रोक्योरमेंट पॉलिसी में इतने स्टेप्स हैं और इतने लेथार्जिक स्पीड ऑफ फाइल मूवमेंट है कि the prices are inflated and the item is obsolete by the time it is inducted in the armed forces. So it is not the best policy, and the current government is trying to speed up the things, but it takes a lot of time, you know.
So before, I guess we have another 5 more minutes left. So one last question we take before we end this session. So one last question which you think is worth to be answered, or something which is very unique and which people need to know about it.
Okay, so ATAC's 5th generation fighters and in Sabka I have discussed in my own live sessions and our previous live sessions. You can check the IGTV feed, you will get a lot of good ideas about it. And Vivat has asked one question, that 15 EX jo hai, is it even more expensive than F-35? I saw it yesterday. See, Vivat, when you're talking about producing any item, you talk about economics of scale. Basically, if you order something in thousands and if you order something in hundreds, then the item which is procured in a lesser number is something that is going to be more expensive because उसे बनाने में उतना ही पैसा खर्च होगा, machine setup होगी, line setup होगी, and orders उतने ज़्यादा नहीं होंगे. So that is obviously a thing that small order things are going to be more expensive, then if you will place a larger order, the price will automatically reduce. So yes, in short term 15EX might be more expensive than F35. अनुराग का क्वेश्चन है एलसी ऑर्डर की डिलीवरी कंप्लीट होने में 8-9 ईयर लग जाएंगे. We'll at most having at them. See Anurag, everything is produced as per the order size. I just as I talked about currently, if you are signing orders, you can buy any aircraft. It takes 5 to 8 years to deliver. आपको इतनी जल्दी कोई भी आइटम नहीं मिलता है, इसमें बहुत टाइम लगता है डिफेंस प्रोक्योरमेंट में. So 8 to 9 years is not a bad timeline for delivery. And 8-9 साल में ऐसा नहीं होता कि आपको टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत ही ज्यादा बदल जाती है. 8-9 साल में एक नई जनरेशन ऑफ फाइटर नहीं आ जाता है. Even if 5th and 6th generation fighters will come in near future, 2050 2060 से पहले 4.5 generation fighters कहीं नहीं जाने वाले हैं and वो obsolete नहीं हो जाएंगे. हर चीज अपग्रेड होती है and हर चीज हल्के हल्के ही अपग्रेड होती है. So that is one thing. And J20 is not a very huge threat to IAF. That is because it is not technically a Western 5th generation category fighter. It is 5th generation low observable, but 360 डिग्री वो 5th generation नहीं है. उसका frontal profile ज्यादा stealthy है, बाकी profiles उसके इतने अच्छे नहीं है. Secondly, mass produce the engine. So that is one more issue that they're facing. So it is not going to be a big game changer. It is like our Rafale only.
So that's it for today, guys. Thank you, Hitesh, for joining on this live session. I hope our viewers had a good time watching this. They learned something new, and even I got to learn a lot of new things in this live session. So once again, thanks for joining in. Thanks for all those people who joined to watch this live session. Hope you guys had a very informative session. We would come back real soon, sometime around next week, to have another live session on something really different and something much more interesting topics. So thank you. This is Arjun signing off. Good afternoon and bye-bye.
Do upload this live session, okay? Whether do upload this live session or do save a copy of this. We'll just upload it to some place.
Sure. It would be there in the IGTV. So yeah, if at all anybody missed this session, or you can just look at the IGTV. Anyone who has a particular or personal doubt can come over and feel free to personal message the page, and we would be happy to answer all your questions. So thanks for watching.
Okay. Thank you.